Okay, so if you're a product manager in Fintech, your head is probably spinning with all these acronyms, right? AI, ML, DL, GenAI, they're everywhere. But are they just buzzwords you're supposed to sprinkle into your presentations, or are they actually the key to your next big product breakthrough? Well, let's cut through all that noise. We're about to give you a clear, practical guide to what these things really mean for you and your roadmap.
All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. Think of it like one of those Russian nesting dolls. We'll start with the biggest one, artificial intelligence, and then we'll open it up to find machine learning inside. Then we'll dig deeper into deep learning and finally uncover the latest and greatest, generative AI. And once we've unpacked it all, we'll wrap up with a playbook built just for you, the PM in the trenches. And this really is the core question, isn't it? When your engineers, your boss, your stakeholders are all throwing these terms around, what does it actually mean for your product, for your roadmap? The lines can get super blurry, and let's be honest, people use them interchangeably all the time. But picking the right tool for the job is absolutely critical. So let's nail down what they actually are. Okay, let's kick things off with the big one, the granddaddy of them all, artificial intelligence. This is the foundation, the starting point for everything else we're going to talk about today. You know, at its heart, AI is just this massive, ambitious goal. Can we make machines smart? It's the entire field dedicated to getting a computer to do stuff that normally requires a human brain. Things like reasoning, learning, or solving problems. It really is the giant umbrella that everything else we're discussing fits under.
So, what does this look like in the real world of finance? Well, think about Bank of America's assistant, Erica, or those little chatbots that pop up when you log into your bank to ask a simple question. Yep, that's AI. A lot of the time, they're just following a set of pre-programmed rules. And if this, then that kind of logic. And this is a great point, right? AI doesn't always have to be some super complex, brainy thing. Sometimes it's just about smart and effective automation. Okay, so if AI is the big idea, what actually makes it go? What's the engine? Well, that brings us to our first stall inside the big one, machine learning. This is what powers so much of modern fintech.
And this is where the thinking really shifts. See, instead of a team of engineers writing thousands of rules by hand, machine learning flips the script. We basically dump a whole lot of data on the machine and say, go nuts, find the patterns for us. It learns from all that history to get better and better at making predictions on its own. It's the how behind pretty much every smart feature you use today. Now, for you as a PM, this is where the real magic starts happening. Trying to figure out if a transaction is sketchy, that's an ML problem. Deciding in a split second if someone should be approved for a loan, that's ML. It's all about finding those hidden signals in massive amounts of data to answer your most critical business questions. It's a huge leap from simple automation to powerful data-driven prediction. And look, this isn't just theory. Let's talk about real-world impact. Take the fintech lender Upstart. They used a machine learning model that looked at way more than just a simple credit score. And the result? They slashed their loan defaults by a whopping 75%. And get this, they did it while actually approving more loans to more people. That's the power of a true predictive engine. Okay, but what happens when your data isn't all nice and tidy in a spreadsheet? What if it's messy, chaotic stuff like images or audio or just raw text? Well, for that, you need to call in a specialist, and that specialist is deep learning. The easiest way to think about deep learning is that it's machine learning on steroids. The whole idea is kind of inspired by our own brains, using these complex structures with tons of layers called neural networks. And all those layers give it a superpower. It can find really complex patterns in that messy, unstructured data. And here's the kicker. It can often figure this stuff out on its own, without a human needing to spoon-feed it labeled examples. So for a PM, the key is knowing when to use this heavy-duty tool. So are you building that cool new feature that unlocks an account with a face scan? You're going to need deep learning for that. Trying to understand the sentiment of a million tweets about a stock in real time? That's a deep learning problem. It's your go-to for the really tough, complex pattern-finding jobs. All right, quick recap to make sure this is sinking in. AI is the big picture, the goal. Machine learning is the main way we get there, by learning from data. And deep learning is the super-powered, specialist version of ML that we use for the really, really hard stuff. Simple as that. All right, now we get to the one that has completely turned the world upside down recently. So far, we've been talking about analyzing and predicting. Now we're talking about creating. Welcome to the age of generative AI. So, Think about it this way. Machine learning can identify a cat in a photo. Generative AI can create a totally new photo of a cat that never existed. It's a special kind of deep learning that's all about making brand new stuff, whether that's text or code or even realistic but totally fake financial data. It's about creation, not just recognition.
And for you as a product manager, this is a whole new playground. I mean, imagine automatically drafting a summary of a dense quarterly financial report. Or get this, you can generate tons of fake but realistic data to train your fraud models without ever touching sensitive customer info. That's a game changer. You can even use it to translate ancient mainframe code into modern Python. This isn't just about making things faster, it's about doing things that were basically impossible before.
Want a mind-blowing example of what this can do? JP Morgan has a platform called Coin. It uses AI to rip through complex legal loan documents. Now, this is a task that used to chew up 360,000 human work hours every single year, and now it gets done in seconds. That's not just a small improvement. That is a total transformation of how work gets done.
You better believe the money follows the opportunity. The numbers here are just staggering. We're talking about potentially unlocking up to $340 billion in value every single year, just for the banking industry. And the whole market is projected to explode to over $1 trillion. This is why every CEO and every board is talking about it. Okay, so we've covered the what. Now for the so what. Let's pull all of this together into a practical playbook that you can actually use when you're making product decisions. Think of this slide as your ultimate cheat sheet. When you're thinking about a new feature, start with the goal at the top. Are you trying to predict an outcome? You're in ML territory. Are you creating something new from scratch? That's GenAI. But then you have to look at the trade-offs. Notice how the data and computing needs get way bigger as you move to the right. But now, pay close attention to that last row, explainability. See how it just plummets? That is huge in finance.
And that right there brings us to probably the biggest headache for any fintech PM, this constant battle between accuracy and explainability. These powerful deep learning models are often black boxes. They give you an incredibly accurate answer, but good luck trying to figure out why. In finance, that's a massive problem. You absolutely will have to explain to a regulator why your model denied someone a loan. So you're forced to choose. Do you want the super accurate black box or a simpler, more transparent glass box that might not be quite as powerful? That's a critical product decision.
So we've journeyed all the way from simple rules-based AI to predictive engines to these creative powerhouses. But what's coming next? Well, the whole conversation is already shifting to something called Agentic AI. We're talking about AI that doesn't just respond or create on command, but acts on its own to achieve a goal you give it. Think of an AI that doesn't just suggest a trade, it executes the trade based on a broad objective. So as you're planning your next 2 quarters, the real question is your 3-year plan ready for an AI that can act all by itself?